Henry locked eyes with the strange little girl, wondering who would break character first. He squinted and made a funny face, hoping to get a reaction, but all he got was a blank stare. "Henry!" called his mother. "Come on! We have to get going!" she yelled. But Henry is still fascinated with the little girl across the aisle. Henry's mom turned the corner fast, tugging at him to hurry up. "Did you not hear me?" she asked. He turns to her in protest and points across the way. "Then tell her to stop being weird." She glances over and shakes her head. "Come on, let's go. I don't have time for this." They go to the supermarket cash register to pay for their items. A young and curious Henry continues to bop his head around to look for the strange little girl, but can't locate her. Before they put the last of their bags into the cart, the employee hands over a missing persons flyer. Curious about the flyer, Henry tries to retrieve it from his mom, but she quickly brushes him off and puts it in her handbag. Kathleen and her friends wandered the makeup aisle up and down. Suddenly, one of them bumps into a little girl standing right in front of the lipstick. "Oops, sorry, didn't see you there," says Mandy. The little girl gives her the side eye and continues picking at the different lipstick shades. "Okay." Mandy looks at Kathleen with a confused look and shrugs her shoulders. Kathleen walks to Mandy and whispers, "Where are her parents?" Mandy shrugs. "No clue," she replied. The little girl continues to look at the items on the shelf while humming a low melody. Kathleen is struck with curiosity and moves in closer to the little girl. "Hey there, where are your parents?" The little girl stops humming, slowly turns towards Kathleen, and snarls at her. Shocked by her response, the girls run away in fear. As the girls run from the aisle, they breeze by Jonathan McCary. He's intrigued but not enough to question it. Jonathan makes his way to the drinks aisle and tries to find a beverage. As he moves forward to select a drink, he stops and turns around to see a little girl standing behind him. "Oh, hello," he says. But she stares at him blankly and doesn't respond. Jonathan shrugs, turns back to the drinks, and ignores her. He finally picks out a beverage and goes to the cash register. But before he gets there, he feels he is being watched. He turns around and sees the same little girl staring at him from the aisle. A bit creeped out, he forces a smile but gets nothing in response. He starts to feel an overwhelming chill down his spine. Brushing the feeling off, he walks to the woman at the register and tries to tell her about the little girl. "Hey, I think that little girl over there might be lost." She looks over the side but doesn't see the little girl. "Who?" she asks. Jonathan turned around, and the little girl was gone. Odd, he thought to himself. As he walks towards the exit, something gives him pause, but instead of turning around, he decides to keep going. Then, the low sound of a little girl saying, "Bye," stops him in his tracks. Jonathan swings around and doesn't see anyone behind him. Feeling immediately spooked, he rushes out of the store. Carol Marr approaches the grocery store and notices the young man running. She immediately shouts for him to slow down. He ignores her as she proceeds to enter. She makes eye contact with an employee and nods in a friendly gesture. "Evening, Miss Marr," says the store employee. "Good evening, Laura," she replies. Carol goes about her usual grocery shopping routine and heads to the produce section. She notices stains on the floor as she walks over to grab some produce. A bit taken aback by the dirtiness on the floor, she navigates around it and tries to continue with her shopping. Suddenly, she noticed a little girl walking by her and picking at a piece of grape. No, don't do that, young lady. You haven't paid for those items yet." The little girl rolls her eyes and continues to pick at the grapes. Carol doesn't appreciate the sass and walks over to take the grapes out of the little girl's hands. The little girl doesn't react and begins to walk away. Carol is baffled by the response. She shouts to the little girl, "You behave yourself now." The little girl stops and turns around to scream. The sound was so high and piercing that Carol had to cover her ears. Unable to drown out the scream, she quickly walks away, covering her ears. She flags down a store employee and tries to tell them to assist her with the little girl. "Oh, please, will you make her stop?" Laura, the store employee, looks at Carol with confusion. "I'm sorry, but make who stop?" asks Laura. A frustrated Carol drags Laura to the produce aisle, but the little girl is gone. I could have sworn she was right here and screaming at the top of her lungs. She shakes her head in disbelief. Never mind, maybe she's run off to her parents. Laura shrugs her shoulders. She leaves Carol and heads towards the back stock area to check on some inventory. As she began to go through the boxes, something gave her pause. Laura turns around to find a little girl in the stockroom with her. "You scared me there," she giggles. "You shouldn't be back here, you know." No response from the little girl. Laura smiles and soon becomes weary, and she walks towards the little girl. "Hey, are you okay?" Still no response. The little girl starts to run away from Laura. "Hey, you really shouldn't be back here," screams Laura. Slightly annoyed, she starts to go after the little girl. As she turned a corner, something in the pit of her stomach told her that something wasn't right. Standing in the dark corner of the stockroom was the little girl with something outworldly. Laura screamed in fright and bolted out of the stockroom. As she makes her escape, she runs directly into Samuel. The two of them stumble on each other and land on the grocery floor. "Wow!" yells Samuel. Laura quickly gets up and screams towards the stockroom. "There's something in that back room." Samuel tries to calm her down as store patrons curiously look on. "All right, calm down. I'll go check it out. And if we need to call the authorities, we will," says Samuel. They start to move closer to the stockroom and then slowly inside. After a few minutes of searching and looking around the stockroom, Samuel determines that there is no immediate threat. They tell Laura that she should head home for the evening. A shaken and spooked Laura quickly grabs her belongings and heads out of the store. Samuel tells the store patrons everything is all right and they don't need to worry. Things return to normal as Samuel heads to the groceries meat section. With a quick visual inspection, Samuel decides to clean up the meat section with some wipes. While wiping parts of the counter down, they start to hear buzzing noises. As Samuel turns the corner, there is noticeably a large amount of flies in the area. This can't be good. Then, poking their head to the side to see what it could be, they are shocked to see a little girl eating raw meat with flies surrounding her. The little girl glares at Samuel and continues to devour the raw meat without any hesitation. "Oh my God, you need to stop," they proclaim. But the little girl doesn't listen. Samuel quickly stops and rushes over to take the meat out of the little girl's hands. "You have to stop. Where are your parents?" But before they can take the meat away, the little girl screams. A shocked Samuel moves closer to try to grab the meat and ignores the horrid scream. "I don't care about your tantrum." The raw meat is removed from the little girl's grip and tossed immediately into the trash. Samuel goes to wash their hands and picks up the grocery store intercom to get help. "Hey, can we please get someone back at the meat counter? We have a young child here that was consuming raw meat." Samuel turns around to look at the little girl, but she is nowhere to be found. "Sorry, hold that thought." Rushing around the meat counter area, Samuel can't find her. They hurry along the nearby aisle to see if she has ventured to a different area, but she can't be located. Samuel returns to the meat counter speaker and alerts some employees to be on the lookout for a small child. Morgan, one of the store employees, walks over to Samuel and asks about the young child. "Wait, so you saw this kid eat raw meat?" Samuel nods. A confused Morgan gets on her work intercom and asks if we have a security camera in the meat counter area of the store. A few minutes later, someone comes on her intercom and says they do and that they'll prep it to the timestamp of Samuel's first call. Morgan and Samuel make their way to the backroom security area to see if it captured the little girl. To the shock of Morgan, Samuel, and another store employee, they see Samuel struggling to grab a piece of meat from no one. "That's not right," says Samuel. "I swear there was a little child there." Samuel points at the screen where they are flailing their arms. "See right there, I'm not fighting with air. There's supposed to be a child right there." Morgan and the other employee share a concerned look. Morgan moves closer to Samuel. "Look, we're not saying you're making this up, but there is no child there, Sammy." A frustrated Samuel decides this is all too much and immediately rushes out of the back room. The other employee decides to go after Samuel, while Morgan stays behind and decides to rewind the security footage a little more. As she rewinds the footage, something immediately catches her eyes. She slows the footage down, and to her shock, she sees something that wasn't there before. Squinting her eyes, she tries to make out the image. What on earth is that? Suddenly, the screen glitches, and Morgan no longer sees any footage. But as she stands in the back room, she can't help but feel the hair on the back of her neck rise. She is overwhelmed by the feeling that she may not be alone.
Please like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to click on the bell icon to get new video updates.